Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the IDP Hunter podcast. I'm your host today, AJ Gill. You can find me at the Baby Cow One. We're going to talk shop with Steve Hungarter today, better known as the IDP Hunter. We've been talking a lot lately, kind of how preseason wrapped up, a lot of changes, a lot of movement going on, and regular season about to kick off. I know everybody's super stoked and excited, so me and Steve are going to pick each other's brains a little bit, do a little deep dive, go over some things we notice. Steve, what's going on, brother?
Hey, not much, man. Thanks for having me on. You ain't kidding, man. We've been through it this whole preseason, off-season OTAs. You and I went down to the Senior Bowl together. We got to see some of these rookies up close. We got a couple rookies on here, too, to talk about. But what you been up to?
Man, last night I was on the soccer field for 4 hours, and my phone was blowing up. And I was like, what happened? And then I saw the Parsons thing, right? Then I started doing a deeper dive, going down the rabbit hole of my never-ending brain. I was like, how many undrafted guys made teams this year? And man, it's just like more and more guys that would have never got looks. Teams are trying to find those diamonds in the rough too. And it's almost seemed like a little bit of a different offseason than we've had in years past, especially with the Parsons trade.
Yeah, that's a good segue, because the reason I wanted to do this pod with you, every year I write for various satellite, businesses. I write an article because I write for RPO Football, work for Fantasy Frames, I work for the IDP Center, I work for Fantasy Six Pack. Been around IDP guys formerly. This article I've spread it around the last couple of years. It's called "A Dozen Defensive Backs You Can Get in the Last Round of Your Drafts," and I usually write around preseason. You and I know we've just been busy this year. It's been exhausting. Been cranking out articles left and right. I didn't have time to write it, so I figured I'd start the podcast with this. I have 12. Actually, if you go to my Twitter, IDP Hunter, I have about 15, 16 defensive backs that have been moved around, but I have 12 significant names that I wanted to kick off the show with. And we'll go to other positions, I'm sure, but I have a couple names. I'm going to start with 6 here. You tell me if you have the same feelings on them. But there's 12 defensive backs that I've been looking at that have really stepped up in a role. I'll start with the first 6. I got Xavier Watts. Xavier Watts is my first one. He won the starting job because the team, by default, they cut Fuller. So Fuller's no longer there. And then we have the other one I have is Billy Bowman. He beat out D. Alford for his starting job. Then I'm really high on Cole Bishop this year. We know the rookie profile left and right. My fourth one here is Ronnie Hickman of the Browns. He beat out Rashad Jenkins. Your Jags, Andrew Wingard and Eric Murray. Well, now we have a little bit. They beat out last year's starters Antonio Johnson and Darnell Savage. So we have a little bit of controversy there. And then the next one I have for you is Shamir Connor. It's not Jaden Hicks. It's Shamir Connor that actually won the starting job there. So the 6 I just said, we got Xavier Watts, Billy Bowman, Cole Bishop, Ronnie Hickman, Andrew Wingard, Eric Murray, Shamir Connor. Any of those stick out to you? Anybody you want to talk about?
I was high on Watts. I mean, when we did the podcast right before the draft, he was the leader. Him and another guy we'll talk about at the linebacker role on that Notre Dame defense. He's not going to be a tackling monster. He's not Bob Sanders, but he's in the right place, right? He's a ball hawk. He's got great hands. I like Watts. I like what he brings to the table. Is he going to get you 120 tackles? Probably not. But the dude can cover. So if you're looking for a ball hawk, guy's going to get his hands on the ball, get a couple pick sixes on the season, Watts. I do want to talk about, actually circling back around how we'll get to Kaiser, that Jaguar secondary. It's been rough for a long time. The Jag secondary is skeptical. If you watched any preseason, I forget who the quarterback was. Was it Mason Rudolph? He looked like Tom Brady in 2007. Darnell Savage, is he playing the nickel? If Wingard's a starter, there's something wrong in the secondary. We don't know how Hunter's going to work out.
Yeah, that was my thoughts too on that as well, because you got a new coordinator coming in there. He demoted all the other guys. right? So Wingard and Murray are now deep league options for me now. I don't know how it's going to pan out, but yeah, he straight gave pink slips to not one but two starters. So be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and Billy Bowman is another guy like Watts. Billy Bowman, though, is a little bit more physical, who always seems to be in the right place at the right time. I liked him coming out of Oklahoma. Everybody will crap on a Big 12 defense day and night, but that dude is a leader. He's always around the ball. So I like that. If you're looking for a big play points and you're looking for a guy that's going to be flashy, but also not be scared to get in there, move down into the box and make a hit or two or force a fumble or come up big when you need them, I do like Billy Bowman.
Yeah, and context matters. I know we talked a lot of these rookies in the offseason. We talked a lot of rookies, and the profiles left and right. Watts was our third overall defensive back. We thought that was spicy. How's that turning out? Billy Bowman was like a human joystick. What did he lead the nation with interceptions? Return them for touchdowns? Like, that's what he is. He's that Madden player, toggle screen triangle, and then run it down the field with turbo,
Yeah.
I like them. The one I want to focus on in here, sometimes these position changes aren't necessarily the player I'm hyping up, but you got to read the tea leaves. You got to look at the clues. So there's a guy, Ronnie Hickman, like I said, he beat out Rashawn Jenkins of the Browns. Well, Ronnie Hickman historically plays free deep. He's a deep free safety. So now I know how the Browns are going to scheme this. They're going to have him play free. And he's good for a deep league, I guess, but I'm not really interested in Hickman. But now that I know that he's the deep guy, I know Delpit is going to move forward. Now, I had somebody in one of the Discords talking to me. Well, it doesn't matter because the Browns have good linebacker now. No, they don't. The Browns have a really bad linebacker core. Yeah. So much so, if you're talking about the rookie, you're talking about the unproven rookie, Carson Schwetzinger. He's going to be your green dot, but he's an off-ball linebacker. So he's going to be an off-ball guy. And you're going to need somebody to soak up the middle, and that's what Delpit does. So this move on Hickman getting promoted is a plus for Grant Delpit. I'm actually as bullish. I'm actually going to put Delpit top 15, yes, top 12, yes. I might even push him in my rankings as a top 10 defensive back. That's a little spicy because we have so many guys in the front. You got, the Hamiltons, the Bateses, the Buda Bakers, Derwin James, Julian Love every year ends up being a top guy consistently. It's kind of hard to put somebody in top 10, but Grant Delpit right now, that's my hot take for you, AJ. Grant Delpit right now, I think I'm going to put him top 12.
I've had him stashed away in so many leagues for so many years. High pedigree guy coming out of LSU. His thing was all the potential in the world, but it was injuries. Every time he get rolling, he get injured. And I don't know if it's the transition, right? Is he 100% when he comes back? No, he's probably not. So if we can keep him healthy, and if he's going to move into that more box role, probably where he feels more comfortable, like, I'm about it. I've kept him on my roster. I think this is year 4 that he's been around. Like, okay, it's make or break. If you don't do anything this year, you're just gonna go sit on free agency for me. So I've stashed him away for a long time, so I'm hoping he finally hits.
Yeah, so I have a couple other guys in here. I'm just going to read them to you. You tell me what you're thinking. Because like I said, there's just so many defensive backs. You guys can follow us on Twitter. You guys can follow us on Discord, what have you, various circles. I said Shamir Connor. He took the job for the Chiefs. Jaden Hicks is still in. Snap count's kind of low. That kind of hurts me because, I drafted him. A lot of us drafted him high. I was thinking highly of him. But right now, Hicks is a fade for me. Connors is your guy. Jabril Peppers and Kyle Duggar does not have a starting job right now. Jason Pinnock of the 49ers, by default, he wins that job because of injuries around him. And then I don't know how to pronounce the name. Who's the guy for the Dolphins? Is it Ifatu Malanafu? You know what I'm talking about.
Melifonwu. Yeah, he's the little brother of a former draft bust. Yeah.
Good job on that one because with him, this is kind of weird. I was looking a lot of tape on him. He is usually, a box inside guy. They're playing him free, and they're letting Mika Fitzpatrick play inside. it's kind of weird because it's usually the other way around. You usually see Fitzpatrick playing deep. So it's like they're bringing him back the way he used to play with the Dolphins. Fitzpatrick may be a buy. Filipano may be somebody good in deeper leagues. And then my boy Will Hulse over on the Fancy IDP Facebook page, he's a big Dante Trader, the rookie truther. He likes Dante Trader because he thinks that he'll end up getting reps in there. He just made the team. He's a two-way sport player. We profiled him. On our rookie episode. And then I'll give you one more here. Cameron Kitchens is now your free safety, which moves up Cam Curl to the strong safety, which by default puts Quentin Lake as a slot guy. Out of all three, sure, Kitchens is a free guy. I'll play him in a 32-team big impact. Yeah. I'm kind of high on Quentin Lake the same way I was with Grant Delpit. Now that he's in that slot role, he produces points. So let's see who I gave you. I gave you Chamir Connell. I gave you Milifanu. I gave you Peppers and Hawkins. I gave you Pinnock. I gave you Cameron Kitchens. I'll throw two more at you so we can finish the defensive backs. Tyke Smith. They moved him from slot to safety. That's a big thing in the Bucs right now. I put him top 30. And then finally, Nick Scott of the Panthers. He's your starter, but I don't know how long he's going to hold off Luther Ransom, the rookie. Yeah. So those are my dozen defensive backs that I'm looking at scooping up the late round. But out of any of those guys, anybody you like, anybody worth talking about?
I really like Connor, and this is going to be my Duval County bias. He's from my hometown. I know the high school I played against them is Trinity Christian. Dude has played at a high level for a long time. He went to Virginia Tech those down years, but he was still a leader on that team. When he went to the Chiefs, I was like, dang, he's going to get buried on that depth chart. Well, he's stuck around, and he's made a name for himself. So leading that backfield now, I'm surprised, but I'm also happy that he's moving into this kind of game changer role and living up to his potential that, back when he was 16 years old, you could see that he was able to do. So I'm a little biased. I'm happy for him. I hope it works out, and I hope he's able to kind of lock in and keep that role as a starter. And another thing, you'll hear me continually over any podcast or talk we do. I always reference college ball. That's where you get the first good look, right? And talking about Melifonwu and Minka, I was actually having a conversation with somebody last night, and I said Minka Fitzpatrick. They were like, "Who?" I was like, "The freshman phenom that was at Alabama, running all over the place." I think Minka does feel more comfortable playing up front. And Melifonwu, if you look, when he was coming off the bench for the Lions, he was still flying around and getting to the ball. Maybe not necessarily tackles, but he was getting interceptions. So I think what you mentioned actually probably works out in both of their favors. Minka's not a tiny man. Like, dude can play up front. He is a freak athlete. He kind of plays that more physical side, right? And you can line him up all over the place. Shoot, I'd put a dime. I'd drop him in the middle if I needed to. And then there was somebody you mentioned last. Who are the last two gentlemen you mentioned?
Oh, I don't know, man. You get me talking. Tyke Smith.
Tyke, moving back to safety. That was more traditionally what he played at Georgia. I never, ever saw him being a true nickel. So I think, playing that outfield role, he's going to be able to adapt a little bit better. It's like when you get a guy, Trayvon Walker, first overall pick, right? He was in the trenches at Georgia, and then he's going to come to the Jags, vice versa, going 3-4 to 4-3. There takes a little bit of a time to adapt to that position. Okay, well, for my entire career, my hand's been in the dirt. Now you want me to stand up? So I think Tyke moving back to that role that we saw him play on those national championship winning teams, I think he'll be more comfortable and he'll be able to produce.
Yeah, and I like what you said with that. I was a little bit later getting to Tyke Smith. Shout out to Joey the Tooth, football guys. He was one of the first in the offseason because we play like super early, like right after the Super Bowl ends. We're doing drafts. He was the first one that mentioned that to me, and I kept an eye on it. I don't have many Tyke shares, but I have him in the top 30 now because of that move. I think that benefits him. Yeah. I'm going back to your Fitzpatrick point. I kind of dig that. You remember when Fitzpatrick, before the Steelers, when he played with Miami the first time, they did use him as a box guy, right? Yeah. So I think they're trying to create, a little bit of a renaissance there with him. So that might be good. Yeah, I like what you said there.
It's that physicality portion that a lot of defensive backs, playing at Alabama under Nick Saban too, being a highly touted recruit, dude was held to a different standard. There was a Nick Saban YouTube leak during COVID, and he was pitching to a recruit. I said, "You want to come to our school? The guys you go up against in practice are better than any team we play." And that's what Minka has gone against. And then he was at the Dolphins. He was a leader. Somehow they trade him away for nothing. And then he winds up coming back. So I think the comfortability being back in that organization, led by a pretty young coach, it seems like the Dolphins are kind of in this weird influx right now. Are we good? Are we bad? Is Tua healthy? How are the owners doing? Is this coach going to be around? I think having somebody stable, secure, and proven, as long as Minka can stay healthy, I think the sky's the limit for him to really produce and kind of take over, which is I saw him be able to do when he was down in Alabama.
Gotcha. Hey, so in the spirit of this, we're talking a dozen defensive backs. I have a dozen linebackers too. Some of these you already know because you drove down to the Kings Classic with me. So some of this was started in OTAs. So the big ones were, and you watched me draft them before anybody else knew, before the projections came out. So that was kind of the secret sauce. AJ, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get away with this next year because they moved the Expo up to June. We did that Expo in August. So I'm going to have to be really on tip top of my game. But this year brought us some very good opportunities at linebacker. So let's start with the green dots. Mack Wilson became the green dot during OTAs, right? Yeah. Christian Rosenboom became a green dot during OTAs for the Panthers. Nate Landman became the green dot. Carson Schwetzinger, the rookie, rose. It took a minute, but we got to see Jack Sanborn take over for the Cowboys. And then the other one I'll give you in this category is Devin White. So Mack Wilson, Christian Rosenboom, Nate Landman, Carson Schwetzinger, Jack Sanborn, Devin White. So those were three. Yeah, I can't count. Those were 6 names right there that happened, boom, before the preseason even started. Any thoughts on those guys? A lot of us kind of know this, but those that are just coming back in, I wanted to start with those names first because I don't have a lot of movement during preseason linebackers, but we sure as heck had a lot during OTAs. Any thoughts on those guys?
The one that scares me the most that I would be mindful, if he falls to you, is Mack Wilson, right? Mm-hmm. So if we're talking about pedigree, and we can just go back to what we said, Mack is an Alabama product too, but dude has never lived up to his hype. He's been good, but never great, and now what are the Cardinals doing? It's like, okay, we're spending money now. We're building around our defense. We're not going to put it all on the offense. What is Mack going to do? Is he going to step his game up, or is he going to be that average guy that you can plug in and get some consistent low-level points? He's out of the folks you named, he's the one that concerns me the most because there's so much unknown.
So for folks that are on Spotify, welcome in. For those on iHeartRadio, welcome in. For those on Apple Podcasts, welcome in. We're on YouTube talking to AJ Veal, the Baby Cow 1 on Twitter. We're talking about preseason guys we love, we hate. I did an article on that. I had an article on fades, and believe it or not, the case for Mack Wilson checks out what you're saying. The argument against Mack Wilson is he's been an off-ball linebacker his entire career. 6 years, never wore the green dot. He's wearing it now all of a sudden. Well, the Cardinals have been trying out the communicator with everyone. For those that don't know what green dot is, it's that sticker they get. They put the communicator in the helmet. Whoever gets the green dot in the team, he's going to command all the plays. He's going to play all 3 downs. Mack Wilson's never done it. But guess what? Look around, and here are my fades right now. Akeem Davis Gaither has always been a historically bench player coming off the bench. He can't cover, and that's one of the things that I've seen this offseason. He cannot cover to save his life. PFF graded him in coverage a 57.5, AJ. He ranks 102nd amongst 189 linebackers. On top of that, QBs, when they want to target him, they're 56.3% of the time accurate when they throw his direction. If that's not enough to get off Akeem Davis-Gaither as a fade, let's talk about his missed tackle rate at 13.6%. He's a recipe for a disaster in coverage. He'll probably be a two-down guy. The other option is is Cody Simon. We like Cody Simon, don't we? Well, guess what? His preseason hasn't been kind to him. He's my other fade. He's been missing tackles left and right. So I don't see him as an option until maybe later on, give or take. Right now, the Cardinals, because I was worried about Mack Wilson too, but by default, he's the only one in there that can play the spot. That defense is going to be successful. They need a guy, and he's the guy right now.
Yeah. When they say next man up, there is not really a next man up. So it's like if he falls, you're going to get points. Is it going to be flashy? Is it going to look good? Probably not.
So the two for me in there that I was worried about, because I like Nate Landman. I'm okay with Rosenboom. I'm great with Carson. The two I'm worried about is Jack Sanborn. He's historically a tackler. He grades about 70s. He's a decent enough player. He knows the playbook because the coach used to be with him with the Bears. I don't know if he keeps the job when Overshown comes back after Thanksgiving, but right now he's a top 30 linebacker play for me. So I'm playing him a lot of places. The one that scares me out of all these, and maybe it's just the way I play, I'm not a Devin White guy. I am not a Devin White guy. I don't know if he's just holding the position up. It's the Raiders, man. The Raiders are always screwing around with their linebackers. They got lucky with Spillane, but when's the last time? I had to go back to, the Beaker days when they had Kerry Collins at quarterback. North Turner was the coach. When's the last time they actually had stable linebacker play outside of Spillane? Devin White makes me nervous. I always bet against Devin White. I'm usually right. But for right now, he's the guy. But all of those guys there, I worry about Devin White the most.
Yeah. I mean, Tampa got rid of him for a reason, and it's like what everybody used to say when Al Davis was alive, where do wide receivers go to die? So with the son, with the bowl haircut leading the organization, is it like, hey, we'll take all your leftover recycled players, we'll lowball them, they'll play, we're not going to be very good. We'll hang in there just enough to make a few upsets and go 500 on the season. But the Bucs got rid of him for a reason. Dude was supposed to be the next best thing, and he never kind of put it together. So I'd probably also be avoidant or just wait and see if he falls before I would waste any time on him.
Okay, I have a couple tier 2 appropriately. The next 6 are they're guys that I'm interested in, but they're LB2s, and they won significant battles. They're coming off injury, what have you. I'm going to read you these next 6. You tell me how you feel about them.
Okay.
We got LB2, Divine Deablo of the Falcons. Another LB2, Demetrius Knight of the Bengals. Another LB2, Dee Winters, who just won the battle over Nick Martin in camp. That's big news right now. Another LB2, SirVocea Dennis. Another LB2, Cedric Gray of the Titans. And yes, as my fades, because I'm saying this, because I'm saying all these names right now, James Williams and the LB2/DB hybrid capability, he's a fade right now because I see Cedric Gray maintaining that. And then the last one I have for you, the mixture of Joe Bachie and Chad Muma, who just recently signed. One of those guys is the LB2 of the Colts. But those are my next 6. Divine Deablo, Demetrius Knight, Dee Winters, SirVocea Dennis, Cedric Gray, Joe Bachie. You like those guys? You see anything there? What are your comments?
There's 2. One, Cedric Gray. I'll talk on him, and then I want to talk on Chad Muma. Okay. Cedric Gray is a tackling machine. I think it took him a little bit of time to adjust to the speed of the NFL. He came out of North Carolina. he's a tackling monster. Learning how to drop into proper coverage and make plays like that probably hindered his progression. Whereas everybody was hyped on James Williams. You're moving a safety who is 6'3", 220 down into linebacker. That probably translated, which is why James was much higher on everybody. The physicality, the athletic spot. But Cedric Gray is your traditional guy. So I really like Cedric Gray, and I mentioned it to him. And a couple folks up at the Expo, everybody's like, nah, it's James Williams. It's James Williams. So I'm happy he's finally going to get his shot. Chad Muma, a former Jaguar. When they took him, I cringed. When he was getting playing time, I cringed. He never put it together. Saw that coming from a mile away. But I want to go back to something we said at the Expo, and it was when you guys were on your panel about defensive schemes, and you were specifically talking about the Colts. So Muma stays in the same division, gets to play Jags twice a year now. Is he going to put it together? I never saw him do it in the 3 to 4 seasons he was with the Jags. But I want to hear your take on that Colts defense and how you spin that scheme. And then,
So whoever the LB2 is, it's a lucrative role. It's a lucrative role because if they keep the same one. Now, again, this is a new defensive coordinator coming in. But the 2 linebackers, they get a steady heaping load of snaps, So we're assuming it's Zaire Franklin and everybody else. You're mentioning Muma, thank you, because I'm picking him up everywhere because, honestly, I don't know. But the mystery to me is this Joe Bachie. He played for the coach with the Bengals. He knows Lou Anarumo's scheme. At least maybe early year, he's pretty good. I went back and I looked at the college tape on this guy. He was known in college as a tackle guy. He had 71 or 81 tackles in like 7 games. He was just on it every week producing tackles, but he got busted for PEDs, and that kind of ended his college career. So not many teams took a shot at him, but the Bengals did. So this coach knows him. So those are some deep shots. When my drafts are over, I'm looking at them. This new coach scheme, for what it's worth, the 2 linebackers are going to stay inside. Everyone else is going to play deep. So be wary of the Bynums. Be wary about the Nick Scotts. But yeah, it's going to be Muma or it's going to be Bachie there, and I'm fading everybody else. And for those that didn't hear my fades for linebacker, I'm punting Akeem Davis-Gaither. I'm punting Jalen Carleys. I'm punting Junior Colson's out. I'm punting Nick Martin right now. And then another one I'm going to punt, Bobby Okereke right now. He's losing time to Darius Masu if you want to take him as a late one, whatever. Bobby Okereke is losing snaps in the preseason. It may not be this year, but it sure as crap might be next year. But those are my punts. Any other guys in that category you like to hear about or like to see or like to talk about?
I've got one guy, and I'm so glad he made the 53-man roster, and he was undrafted. This will be a deep stash, wait a year or 2 unless an injury happens. And I want to talk about a Raven linebacker. His name's Jay Higgins. He led the country 2 years ago in tackles with 170. I think he finished his college career with almost 400 tackles. Tackling monster. He made the 53-man roster for a reason. He's not the fastest, but he puts his nose on the helmet. So if you need that guy that might be able to get that starting role eventually, especially if an injury happens or that can come off the bench, put him in your taxi, stash him away. I really like Jay Higgins. And I honestly, truly think we're speaking specifically about defensive football, that the defenders coming out of college that have those stats to back up their play translate better in the long run rather than that freak athlete just because he's 6'6", 280 pounds, runs a 4.4. That doesn't always translate. The guys that have the body of work to produce on the defensive side, I see them producing, especially throughout the course of a defensive focused fantasy season.
Yeah. I was looking it up while you were talking. Did he get cut? I can't even remember. Or did he just make the 53?
He made the 53.
Did he? Yeah, his coverage grade and his combine kind of screwed him up, but he was like one of our top linebackers when he first came out. Right now it's Roquan Smith there and everybody else kind of thing. But But yeah, going back to what we see in the preseason, I like what I see out of SirVocea Dennis. I mean, he was turning heads in camp, making all the big plays. Last year he only played 4 games, but he still managed a 74.3 PFF coverage grade. That ranked, 16th out of 189 eligible linebackers. If you can cover, you're going to have a 3-down roll in the field. Going to be next to Levante David. That's not bad. Winters was kind of the same way. Now that he won it, he's like one of the top coverage guys for a linebacker. You mentioned Cedric Gray. Demetrius Knight by default. They want to play a 4-3 there with the Bengals. He's going to be in for big play. And Divine Deablo with the Falcons. Troy Anderson's hurt. Troy Anderson was losing that job anyway. Divine is who he is at this point, but he's going to be an LB2. He's going to be a depth piece on a lot of my teams. So, yeah, there's a lot of linebackers this year, and there's a lot of defensive backs. I don't have many defensive line. Kind of went right to linebacker. My fades for defensive back, there's plenty. We mentioned D. Alford, Damir Hamlin of the Bills. He can't cover, and they were using him a lot in the box. So people were looking at those numbers. I'm like, careful. When a volume player gets exposed and he doesn't have the metrics, they yank him. He's a fade. Both Jaguar safeties, Antonio Johnson, Darnell Savage, they're fades. Jaden Hicks, it pains me to say, he's not getting many snaps. Ashton Davis, previously of the Dolphins, he's not getting it. He's not getting it now. Kyle Duggar's running with 2s. And then rookie Nicky Manowari, who we all like, he doesn't have a full-time role. Some people looked at that in the offseason. He's running with the green dot, but it's all the number 2s and none of the starters are there. So sometimes you got to read the tea leaves. But there's several fades at defensive back as well as those fades at linebacker that I'm talking about. AJ, for this last part of the podcast, I only have 2 fades and I only have two starters. What do you want me to go with first here?
Let's do your starters first.
Okay, the starters. This is kind of a cheat. The first one I'm going to do, it's Christian Ellis of the Patriots. He's a linebacker. He's an LB2 linebacker getting plenty of the role. And this is something that we got wrong early in the year. We thought it might have been Jack Gibbons. It's Christian Ellis. However, look on Sleeper. He's got the DL2 eligibility. He's got DL eligibility. So if you're in the leagues that we play in, go ahead and draft yourself a linebacker, tackle heavy, put him as a DL. So that's kind of a cheat code. I just wanted to throw that in there. I really only have one rookie DL that I'm liking, that I'm trying to get everywhere right now. I just took him as my last pick, and I'm going to kind of hang on him for a minute here. I'm going to show you some tape on James Pearce, because I love this guy. I love everything he's doing right now. Look at James Pearce. Look at this body of work he's putting on preseason. Look what he's doing with the Lions. Even when he's not there, he's making plays. I tweeted about this the other day, AJ, if you're on Twitter and you're looking at this. James Pearce is all over the place right now. He's putting it together. You know, he has a 21.1% win rate this preseason. And with that, 18.4% pressure rate. In these videos, he's got 7 pressures, plenty of hurries, 18.4% pressure rate, like I said. He's on a thin Falcons roster where they don't have anybody. So Pearce can earn a larger workload where everybody's coming back. Some people are fading Walker right now. I'm not going to fade a guy outright because of injuries, but James Pearce is clearly showing that he can get it. He can go after it. And shout out to Sean, IDP Nation. We were on a podcast together way back when in the Wayback Machine. We went in the Wayback Machine, was that the Hot Tub Time Machine reference I'm saying? And we were talking about Pearce, and he was like, is it just me or do I like Pearce a lot better than Walker? I'm like, I'm not going to go ahead and claim that right now, but Pearce is a guy I've been looking at, and I've been looking at him all in the offseason. And I'll give you another one, just a bonus one. Charles Granderson of the Saints, but they're playing at 3-4. He may be something. That's just more of a deeper shot, deeper leagues. But right now, James Pearce is the truth for me. I'm trying to get him everywhere. But those are my guys. Granderson, Pearce, and some Ellis, who's technically a linebacker. Those are the guys that I like to play with. Any thoughts on those starts?
Yeah, and we can reference Pearce with the Hickman Delpit effect, right? So the Falcons trade back up, snag Pearce. If you watch any of his Tennessee tape, he was the leader. He was the guy on that team. They trade up and get him. I'm thinking teams are going to key in and have to double Walker, which leaves Pearce one-on-one with whatever tackles lined up against him or a tight end. That's winning. So the potential to have higher points just because he might be the second best guy on the edge. Okay, well, they're going to be focused. This was how, remember I explained to you about George Selvey and Jason Pierre-Paul at South Florida. George Selvey led the country in sacks when he was a junior at South Florida, right? So his senior season comes around. He didn't go pro. He came back. Well, now he's getting the double teams. In come out of JUCO, Jason Pierre-Paul. Jason Pierre-Paul, as a freak athlete, only has one-on-one matchups, and his numbers went through the roof. He ends up being a first-round draft pick. Selvey falls to the 6th or 7th. So I think the Walker-Pierce, I think Walker gets more of the doubles, which is going to give Pierce the opportunity to have better stats.
And in my two fades here, Chop Robinson was another one that I was high on this year. Well, Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, they're fully healthy now, which puts him back to the bench. And then Mike Green, another promising rookie in the spirit of James Pearce here. He's playing with the twos, man. He's on the back. He's behind Owe and Van Noy in camp. So, if you had to use a high rookie pick on him, he's not getting any run. But those are my two fades, and those are my 2 or 3 starts. I have 2 guys I couldn't fit anywhere, so I'm just going to ask you them. These are kind of shots in the dark here. Yeah. Andrew Makuba, remember the safety? We were talking about him with the Eagles. Yeah. You like him, don't you? My only issue with him right now is he's way behind in camp. If you look at right now, he's behind the starters. He's behind Blankenship and stuff. I kind of like him, but he's behind according to depth charts go. And then the second guy, the final guy of this show that I'm going to talk about, the Cowboys got a defensive lineman now that Parsons is out of the way, and they got rid of him. They got a guy named Donovan Ezekiel, however you say his name, and Donovan Ezekiel. I'm being asked in chats everywhere how I feel about him. I like him as a dynasty prospect. Sam Williams is in front of him. Dante Fowler they paid to come in. But, either one of them don't really have the metrics. And don't sleep on Marshawn Nealon. But Donovan's a guy in there I might take a shot at the end of the drafts just because everybody likes him. But those are 2 right there. If you got anything to say about Makuba or Donovan, let us hear it.
Yeah, I'll go back and reference my how collegiate stats back up, your abilities in the league. So Donovan was Ezeraku coming out of BC, didn't face the best competition. He was pretty good. I mean, his stats backed up, but I want to see what Dallas's defense is doing as an entire unit. With Parsons gone, is Sanborn the guy? Who else is playing linebacker? Or is the secondary going to be healthy? You could do a late stash. Nealon, I don't even think he should have been drafted where he got drafted, period. Makuba, high pedigree, Clemson in Texas, big play guy. I mean, we saw his really nice pick 6 in the preseason. Is he buried? But there's not a whole lot going on in Philly's secondary. The guys that are there, right? So you got Coop, you got Blankenship. Is Slay still around? I don't know. And he's like 32, 33 years old. You're gonna need guys to fill in down the road. So if you can get him late and stash him, he's gonna get a look. The kid can play. He's an athlete. He finds the ball. I don't think he's a tackling machine, but I do know he's a big play threat waiting to happen with the high pedigree coming out of 2 major, top 10 collegiate, teams. He was a leader on both.
Right. And if you realize we went 42 minutes here, we talked 27 ads that you can make right now, and probably a dozen fades. I mean, we went right through it this podcast. That's all I got, AJ. What are you working on? What are you up to?
Not a whole lot, man, but I'll be coming on probably to start once a month. We'll do a bit of a little raw ball focus. Bobbing and weaving with Steve. You can find me on X at the Baby Cow 1. I'll try to be more involved, try and be more present, drop some knowledge. As you can probably tell, college is where I thrive. Not to say I don't watch, good 12 hours of NFL on Sundays, but college is where it's at for me. Reach out if you have questions. I run a disabled vet fantasy football league as well. This is year 7. It's really good for the folks that are trying to stay connected, build camaraderie, and also good for their cognitive vestibular functioning as well. And I play in a lot of different leagues with Steve on Sleeper. So I'm trying to get more involved and be more present, help out where I can and let this knowledge not go to waste.
Heck yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So that's all I got today. Steve, where can folks find you at?
Exactly. Yeah. So where they can find me at IDP Hunter on Twitter. I got 4 articles running during season. I got the every down linebacker over at Fantasy Six Pack. And that's where it's going to be the home at now. I do the box snap safety report. And when I get bored, I'll add slot snaps too. So if you guys are looking at snaps, defensive backs, that's my home. That's one of my favorite articles I write. I write the waiver article as well. And then I also do rankings for fantasy pros. We put those down. I count that as an article too. So those are the 4 I do weekly. As far as podcasts go, I have 2 podcasts. We have this one here that me and AJ do, and also Offensive Points, and we have Jamie to come on. This is found here, and it's also found on the home of the IDP Center. It's in their Discord, in their journal as well. So you can find us on the IDP Center. And if that's not enough, I do a Fantasy and Frames podcast every Wednesday, weekly during the season with Jorge Edwards, Gary Davenport, and JT Brew. So, without further ado, that's where you guys can find me. And like I said, we're going to do these more often. We're going to get together. I want to hear more about your Disabled Wounded Warrior League. Those are always fun. And then, of course, AJ's background writing for the Army newspaper. That's always fun to bring all of your college trivia and stuff here. But that's all I got, AJ. Anything else? It was good talking to you again.
Yeah, as always, man. And I enjoyed talking shop, man.
Hopefully we did a lot more good takes than bad takes. And honestly, we're usually spot on when me and you get together. Yeah. So this is the IDP Hunters, the Baby Cow. I don't got anything else. See you guys later. Talk hard, everybody.